What did we learn from game one of the Stanley Cup playoffs between the Kings and Oilers, and what changes might we see in game two? That and more on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years. I'm also one of the co-hosts of Locked On NHL Game Night, a nightly podcast that is recapping the night in the NHL, and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Well, the LA Kings are back on the ice on Wednesday for game two of the Stanley Cup playoffs following their thrilling, heart-stopping, agonizing 6-5 win over the Edmonton Oilers in game one on Monday. We'll get into what we might see in game number two coming up in a moment, but I wanted to do an upon further review of game number one, and there was a lot to review. Now, being at the game, you see things from a certain perspective, and certainly being in the arena with the atmosphere and the crowd and all the sounds, you maybe can get caught up a bit in the emotions of things, especially as a Kings fan. The emotion of how well the Kings started with a 4-0 lead, and then the stress and the helplessness watching them blow the lead, only to finally pull out the 6-5 win in the final seconds. As I've always said, I'm a Kings fan first, media guy second. So even though I'm sitting in the press box and for the most part not showing my feelings, have to act professionally. But on the inside, I am definitely not detached from what I am seeing from a fan's perspective. So the next day, I can be a bit more disattached, not emotionally as invested. You rewatch the game, you take the passion out of it. Obviously, I know what's going to happen, so it's not like I'm, nervous about anything. But obviously, you're watching on TV as opposed to being there. You see a different angle. You get to see replays, things like that. So it's something I know I like to do. I'm guessing if you're a Kings fan and you go to a lot of games, you probably like to record the game and then come back, maybe watch it the next day if you can, just to kind of, again, get a different feel for it. So after rewatching the game, I actually feel better than I did right after the game on Monday. Now, don't get me wrong. I am always happy, especially in the playoffs, thrilled when the Kings win. I don't care if it's 12-11 or 1-0. A win's a win, and I am going to be happy about it, especially in the playoffs and especially against the Edmonton Oilers. That said, right after game one, I was walking back to my car, and I can't deny I felt a bit more relieved than celebratory. So why do I feel better after rewatching the game a day later? Well, you couldn't be blamed with how things went in the third period and how the game ended if you kind of forgot that the majority of the game, the Kings were the better team. I would say, 85, 90% of the game, the Kings were better, deeper, executing better, just all around the better team. And going into the series, I thought the Kings were the better team, especially 5-on-5. Wasn't sure how the special teams were going to go. Certainly it went the Kings' way in game one. But again, rewatching it made me feel a lot better about the Kings in this series, as opposed to how I felt kind of after game one. It kind of felt like, oh, we got away with one, we escaped. No, actually, the Kings played really, really well, especially the first two periods. The first two periods were not even a question. The Oilers were held to 6 shots on goal in the first, 4 shots on goal in the second. Yes, things certainly got a little bit upside down in the third. But again, the majority of game one, the Kings were the better team. The Kings were forechecking. They were back-checking and just solid throughout, being on the Oilers, pressuring them into mistakes. And, obviously the Kings didn't play a perfect game. If they had, then it wouldn't have been 5-5 late in the game. So there are certainly some areas to address and to clean up. But I would say we didn't learn how good Connor McDavid was when we think about the things we learned from game one. But I also don't know that the Kings need to learn from that game and play Connor McDavid differently. They played him well for 2 periods. He got it going in the third. He's also just a hell of a player. Like, you can't just stop him. It would be easy to say, well, we just need to stop him. You can't really stop him. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's probably going to go down as the greatest player of his generation. And he has one of those qualities that the greats have, that he usually will come up big in a big moment. And in game one, Connor McDavid was special in the third period, 4-point game, 3 assists, had the game time goal. And it wasn't enough. They didn't win the game. Now, is he going to play another game like that, another period like that? I mean, he's capable of it. He's that good. But even for Connor McDavid, 4-point games just don't happen every night. As a matter of fact, in 67 regular season games, he had 3 4-point nights. So I would say, I don't think the Kings need to pay any more attention to him. I thought they were focused on him and his teammate, who's equally great, Leon Draisaitl, for every shift that they were out there. And there were certainly a lot of them, especially late. But they're going to do their thing. Again, you try to limit time and space. You try not to be standing flat-footed when they're coming right at you, because they'll blow right around you. Get them in, the least dangerous possible areas on the ice and try to keep them there as much as you can. But in the end, those are great players, and they're going to do what they're going to do. Again, just make them work, make it hard on them. But I don't think we learned anything different about what we need to do against those guys. It's going to be a lot of hard work by a lot of different players, a team effort to try and keep them from doing what they do. I think we learned the Kings power play, which looked good late in the regular season when we added Andrei Kuzmenko, looked even better in game one. It was like, how is that power play going to translate into playoff hockey? And I thought the 5-forward setup looked great. Puck movement was great. Obviously, you get 2 power play goals. That's great. And even when the Kings didn't score on a full 2-minute 5-on-3 power play, it wasn't because it didn't look good. I mean, the puck was moving around. They were getting good looks. A couple of missed opportunities, some block shots by the Oilers. They needed to score on that to put the game away. They didn't, so it was a missed opportunity. But again, the power play looks great. We learned that Kings players that are new to this Oilers-Kings matchup looked very solid in their first outing, especially, and you look at defenseman Joel Edmondson. I mean, he's a veteran guy. He's won a cup before, so he's not going to be in awe of this situation. But Andrei Kuzmenko had never played a playoff game before, and I loved, his smile pregame. If you saw it, he looked like he was really enjoying this moment, finally getting to play playoff hockey, and he certainly enjoyed, what he did on the ice with a goal early on, the first goal of the game on the power play, 2 assists as well. He continues to be a difference maker for the LA Kings and a great pickup. Warren Foegele didn't have any points, but 4 shots on goal, active, flying around the ice. I think he's definitely going to get a few goals before this series is over, but he's new to this rivalry, flipping around from the other side of it. But I thought he looked great. And even the young guys, Brant Clark, Samuel Helenius, Alex Turcotte, they certainly didn't look overwhelmed by Stanley Cup playoff hockey, at least for game one. So I think a good start for all the newer guys to this Kings-Oilers matchup. And even though the Kings had home ice advantage, I think we learned that they may be having some trouble getting some calls in this one. Rewatching the game, I thought the Oilers definitely got away with a few things. Now, to be fair, it wasn't all one-sided. I thought there was the penalty that was called early on in the game where the Kings got the power play and Andrei Kuzmenko scored. I mean, it was one you can call, but I would think in a playoff game early in the game, you kind of let those things go. I thought it was an iffy kind of call, not a terrible call, but I thought also right before Quentin Byfield scored, I saw Kevin Fiala got away with a slash. He slashed the stick out of an Oilers player's hands, and usually that gets called. Didn't break the stick, which is almost always called, but the Kings go on to score on that one. That said, we saw Connor McDavid get away with a blatant stick grab on Anze Kopitar before he set up Draisaitl for a goal. Corey Perry, he cross-checked Joel Edmondson, sent him to the ice. That allowed Perry to be free in front of the net. He scored an important goal there. He tripped Kevin Fiala right before the Oilers scored as well, away from the play that somebody didn't see. There was a holding call on Mikey Anderson where his stick was actually being held. There was a boarding on Alex Laferriere that for some reason was ignored. Vladislav Gavrikov got punched by Leon Draisaitl. Andrei Kuzmenko was assaulted in front of the net on a power play. He didn't even give that extra jab at the goalie there that, usually you get a reaction out of that, but he didn't even do that. And he got thrown to the ice. But not a lot of calls going the way of the Kings in this one. And I don't even know how you address that. If you even do, I mean, can you officially make a request to the referees to, I don't know, look out for the Corey Perry cross checks in front of the Kings net? Is it something that maybe you bring up on the ice before the game? The captain maybe goes over and says something. I don't know. I don't know how that works. Yeah, there were some calls that did not go the Kings' way. Although a lot of things did go right. I thought there were some calls that didn't go their way. We also learned that Kings fans are playoff ready. It was a great atmosphere at the arena from before the opening puck drop, which we're going to address in a little bit. And even rewatching the game on TV, you could feel the playoff energy. That was definitely awesome. So what changes might we see for game number 2? That's next on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action right now. When you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into player props from three-pointers to steals to assists. FanDuel has so many ways to bet on your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live props into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. The Clippers and Lakers both in the NBA playoffs, and you can bet on those games to make it more exciting and fun using FanDuel to wager on the playoff excitement. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com to claim your $250 in bonus bets today. All right, game 2 coming up Wednesday night in Los Angeles. Will the momentum carry over from game 1? Well, what momentum? The Kings' momentum from being the better team for most of the game. The Oilers' momentum from having a strong push in the third period and nearly pulling out a miraculous comeback. I don't think, honestly, anything really carries over for either team. Now, I used to work with a guy in radio. He loved to rant and rave about how there's no such thing as momentum in sports. And I mostly agree with him. I do think that there is momentum that happens in a game. I think we saw that in the third period against the Kings. The Oilers got the momentum going, had the Kings kind of chasing around a little bit. But I don't know about momentum from one game to the next. And again, if you believe in momentum, so who's got the momentum? The team that won or the team that had the stronger finish, even though they didn't win? I don't know. I don't really see that anything carries over. I think the Kings, I think, are the better team. And I think more often than not in a 7-game series, that should show itself and lead that team to winning the series. But we'll see. It was only one game, and we'll see how the momentum, how the series shapes up, how it kind of ebbs and flows, and kind of what direction it goes into. I will say, like I said, I don't think a lot of momentum carries over from game to game, but there are exceptions to the rule. Back in 2014, when the Kings pulled off the reverse sweep of the Sharks, was there any doubt, honestly, when the Kings won 3 in a row and they were going to San Jose that they were going to win Game 7? I honestly was very confident that they had seized control of that series, and it just going back home for the Sharks, thinking about, oh my God, I hope if we choke this away, we're going to go down in history as one of the biggest chokers in Stanley Cup playoff hockey. That's a lot mentally on a team. So there's that. But I think for the most part, each game is its own kind of event. Now, you may disagree with that. I will say for the Kings, it might not be momentum, but I do think they have a lot of team confidence right now. I don't think anyone is really feeling bad about their game right now. Not even Darcy Kemper, who allowed 5 goals. Certainly not all of them were his fault. But I don't know that there's any Kings, especially the forward group. I think everybody's feeling really good kind of about where they are right now. And that was great to see so many guys contributing in the Game 1 win. Kuzmenko looked great. Kempe, solid as usual. Byfield looked playoff ready. Fiala, Fogle, Philip Deneau. Who had Philip Deneau as the game one hero? Not me. So love to see it. And hopefully we see more in game number 2 of the Kings getting contributions from a lot of different players. What adjustments will the Kings make for game 2? Honestly, I don't see much. For the most part, again, they did a good job against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. When you look at the whole game in perspective and not kind of overreact to the third period, I think Draisaitl was pretty frustrated with the way Vladislav Gavrikov was playing him. They had some intense battles one-on-one, and they're only going to raise in the level of intensity as the series goes along. Thought Gavrikov looked great against Draisaitl, who is a tough matchup. He is so big and strong. He's got the skills, but he's just his size, his balance. He's tough to knock off the puck. So I thought they did a real good job on Leon Draisaitl. Maybe for Drew Doughty, who had a couple of iffy decisions late in the game, maybe not overreact when McDavid has the puck. I know that's in some ways it sounds ridiculous because you've got to give him your full attention. But I think sometimes you can do things maybe out of character when it comes to trying to play a guy like that because you're so afraid of his speed and what he can do. And I know it's easier said than done for sure. But, you got to try and take the body on him and kind of forget what he does with the puck because you can get kind of hypnotized by his hands and his moves sometimes. But a couple of times late in game one, I thought Drew kind of maybe overreacted. He went down on the ice a little bit early. Then there was another play where he just kind of was playing an area and not the man. So there are some things, again, that can be improved upon. But I don't think that strategy-wise, the Kings are looking to do a lot different than they did in game number 1, even with Connor McDavid. Special teams-wise, I can't see the Kings doing anything different. I think they stick with the 5 forward group on the top unit. Penalty kill looked great. No adjustments need to be made there. I certainly don't expect any lineup changes for the Kings at all. I'd be shocked if anyone was inserted into the lineup or if the lines were mixed up in any way at all. I mean, there's only one player that's out of the lineup that should be in there, and that's Tanner Jeannot for Jeff Malott. But Jeannot, I've heard nothing about him being close to returning, so don't expect there to be a change in regards to that. For the Oilers, a little bit different. Now, Stuart Skinner, their goalie, allowed 6 goals. So it is possible the Oilers could make a goalie change. They did play Calvin Pickard quite a bit this year because Stuart Skinner had some injury issues, and Oilers head coach Chris Knobloch told the media on Tuesday that he hadn't made a decision on his starting goalie yet. He would announce it on Wednesday. So we'll see about that. My guess is that he sticks with Stuart Skinner for at least one more game before he decides if he needs to make a change or not, based on how Skinner plays in game 2. I think if you go to Calvin Pickard already, it kind of feels like a panic move in game number 2. So I think he'll give Skinner another shot. We'll see. And Skinner was their goalie that was in net for the majority of their run to the Stanley Cup final last year. So I would be pretty surprised if he replaced him after one game. Either way, Skinner or Pickard, it's still, Kings fans will still have fun with that, regardless of which goalie is in net. I think it'll be Stuart Skinner, but we shall see. It may not be. So there's a change there, maybe. Also, veteran defenseman John Klingberg may be in the Oilers lineup, which would be an interesting move. He is a offensive defenseman, and I would think the Oilers need more defense from their defensemen right now, certainly with Matthias Ekholm out, but we'll see. Defensive coverage for the Oilers, I thought, was an issue for him in game number 1. One other Oilers note, forward Evander Kane, who did not play in game 1, who's missed all of the season because of injury, is expected to be put into the lineup at some point in the series. That could be a card that Knobloch decides to play when he really feels like he needs a spark in the lineup. But Kane not expected to play in game number 2. I think the big question for me with the Oilers for game 2 is not about any players in or out of the lineup or even the goalie. For me, will Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl start together in this game? Typically, they start on different lines, and Oilers head coach Chris Knobloch will put them together if he feels like he needs some sort of an offensive spark. He did it when the Oilers fell behind 2-0 in game 1, and they were pretty much together the rest of the way. And I said on Monday's show that I actually like it when McDavid and Draisaitl play together, even though they're so good, but it makes the Kings only have to really worry about trying to stop one line. I think that the Oilers would prefer not to play them together to start the game because it gives them more balance in the lineup. And if they do need to go to that for some sort of a spark or a change in momentum, they can always do that. But I wouldn't be surprised if in game 2, McDavid and Draisaitl did start together. I know what I said about momentum, but their best hockey late in that game was with those two guys on the ice together. So maybe they try and start that way. I think the Oilers do want to have a better start, obviously, than they did in the first game. So I'm really curious to see what that move is. Will they start Draisaitl and McDavid together right off the bat, or will they wait like they did in game 1 until they need kind of a spark? That's kind of the big thing, other than who starts in goal for the Oilers. I'm curious to see for game number 2. All right, I have been corrected about something I talked about in our recap of game 1. Also, my prediction for game number 2. We'll do that next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Looking for a snack that is both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you feel fuller longer. It's the perfect grab-and-go snack for busy days, whether you're snacking at your desk or on a road trip or just need a quick protein boost. And if you love opening those every shells for the satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein, providing all 9 essential amino acids, whether you're running between meetings or dropping off the kids. Wonderful Pistachios is a snack that works as hard as you do. Get snackin' and get crackin' with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, real quick, I have not checked my email for the fan feedback show, but if you haven't written in to educate me on the Korean harmonica playing elderly ladies, I now know the story. I was mistaken when I wondered why they were selected to perform the national anthem before game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I also thought it was just a spontaneity by the crowd to sing the national anthem with them. I was mistaken. Maybe you were in the dark about this too, but apparently I had said, I could see them being the performers for the Korean Heritage Night. And in fact, that did happen. March the 23rd against the Boston Bruins, the harmonica ladies performed the national anthem. I guess when that happened, that night, the crowd kind of spontaneously sang the anthem along with them. So when I rewatched the game, I heard Trevor Raybone, the public address announcer, say, back by popular demand, and he also told the crowd to sing along. So it wasn't something that just happened, and it wasn't a first time for those ladies. So they were brought back. We'll see if they're brought back again for game 2 or somewhere down the road. But I have now been educated about the elderly Korean harmonica playing ladies that did the national anthem before game number 1. Maybe you have been educated about that too. So yeah, they've been there before, and they came back for popular demand, and the crowd sang along, and it was awesome. All right. As for game number 2, I will say game 1 was not really what I expected. Not that I didn't think the Kings would win. I did, but I did not think the two teams were going to combine for 11 goals. If you would have told me the Kings were going to score 6 goals, I would have thought we would have won running away. If you would have told me the Oilers were going to score 5 goals, I would have thought the Kings would have lost. So what are we expecting in game number 2? I am expecting a much lower scoring game. I certainly don't think we're going to see 11 goals combined for either team. Hopefully the Kings can continue to stay out of the penalty box. Only two times shorthanded in game number 1 because they are the better 5-on-5 team. I don't expect Connor McDavid to have a 4-point night. And I think in the end, we will see a Kings 4-2 victory as they will take, I hope. I don't know if I can guarantee as well as our guy Ed and Brea. Probably not. But I expect to see, again, a much more lower scoring game. I think Darcy Kemper bounces back. If you even want to call it a bad game for him, I think he bounces back. I think we see a lot more lower scoring game in this one. I don't think Connor McDavid has quite the game he has, but we'll see. I do know this. I expect to see another great performance by Kings fans in game number 2. You guys were great in game 1, loud, proud, and made home ice advantage an advantage for the LA Kings, and they certainly needed it at the end of the day. So I'll be out there at game 2, looking forward to it. Anyone wants to say hi, reach out with an email or on social media. I'll try my best to see those emails and meet up. All right, for you everydayers, those of you that listen to watch Locked On LA Kings every day, coming up on our next show, obviously, recap of Game 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs between the LA Kings and the Edmonton Oilers. Looking forward to seeing how this game goes after a wild, crazy Game 1 victory for the Kings. If you want to send an email to the show for any reason, including our fan feedback show every Friday, the email address is lockedoneddie@gmail.com. You're always welcome to post your thoughts on each show if you're watching on YouTube in the comment section. Would love you to stay connected with the show on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We are at Locked On LA Kings. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you for listening and watching this episode of Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you on our next show. And as always, go Kings, go.